Welcome to the Fundraising Leadership Podcast, where we engage in lively and thoughtful conversations with professionals in the nonprofit world. Today, I'm here with my teammates and partners and friends. I love that I can use all of those terms for all of you guys. Michelle Malloy Dillon, David Lanjuli, and Janice Cunning, and we are the professionals for today. So we were doing
don't go that far.
Let's just never mind. God, thank you.
No, really.
I feel much more relieved. Yeah.
No pressure,
Yeah. So we have been doing some visioning and intention setting for 2023, as we do. And we're really interested this year in personal growth. And we wanted to get together and share a little bit about why this has been an important journey for each of us. David, do you want to share kind of your thoughts about what we should do here today?
Okay, well, and for the audience, we noticed that the clients that we've had over the years that are on a personal, these are leaders, almost exclusively leaders in the nonprofit world, and those that are on the personal development path are the ones that make the most progress in their organizations and with themselves, and in their training and coaching with us. They make leaps and bounds their development. So that's like the context for where we're heading in the new year. And I'd love to share. I was not a personal development junkie that I am now. Like, I didn't even think about myself. It's kind of weird. I was educated. Like, I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go get this degree. I'm going to get that degree, and I'm going to learn about my profession. And it wasn't until about a little over 20 years ago, when I was living and working in Wyoming at the University of Wyoming, that I was nominated to be in a leadership program. And this is like one of these conventional, get to know the state of Wyoming and, go around to different cities and get to know the economy and all the moving parts of Wyoming. But there was a big element of Leadership Wyoming, and that's still there today. And I'm an alumnus, and I still pay my alumni dues because I love that this program got me on the path of personal development. And it was like, they called it the inner work. The inner work. And each session, and this program had an arc of about a year. It had an arc of a year, in fact. And much like our sort of 9-10 month leadership arc. And every session and the in-between work, so again, like the leadership program that the four of us shared with the coaches, or the Coactive Training Institute, had half of it was devoted to inner work. I was like, inner work? What the hell is that? But that's what I've come to learn is the place to start. And so this led me to meditation. It led me to, I could just trace back, like right to that point in time, how I got on the path that led me to all of you here today on this call, and all of the clients with whom I work, and doing the work that I love to do, which is working on myself and helping others work on themselves. So that's the origin story for me about my personal development.
Yeah, we find I love hearing your story, David, because it's bringing up memories of me. When we came up with this topic for this podcast, I was saying, I don't even know what my origin story is. Like it feels kind of random. It also feels, as I look back on it, disjointed with decades between personal development things that I did for myself. And yet there was a spark that was lit, early in my life. And so, my origin story with personal development is back in high school. I had a friend whose parents ran a meditation sangha, and he invited me and a couple other friends to come to the weekly meditations. And I ended up loving it. It was, in a way, it was a form of rebellion for me as a teenager, because it was so outside. It felt like it was so outside the norm of what everyone else in high school was doing. But it was something that really helped ground me during those emotionally turbulent hormonal times of adolescence and leaving home and, to go away to college, and all of those sort of times in my life where it felt kind of unstable and there was a lot of change happening. And that fell away. I didn't continue meditating. I meditated for maybe 5 years or so, and then it fell away. And then there was this huge gap. And then when I was going through a career change and sort of feeling like, gosh, this first career is not working for me anymore. What am I going to do with my life? One of my clients at the time was a coach, and I didn't know what coaching was. And I learned from her what it was and thought, well, that might sound interesting. And as soon as I dived into the Coactive Training Institute training for coaching, it became not only learning the skills of being a coach, but actually doing the work myself. And that's what I love so much about this career as a coach, is that it keeps me on task to walk the walk as well as talk the talk all the time. I learn so much from my clients. What my clients are working on is often a reminder to myself, okay, that's something that I need to work on as well. And so now it's a way of life for me. It's a practice to be a better human on the planet, to be more conscious of my decisions and where I want my own life to go, and where I want my relationships in the world to go. And I'm so grateful for it. So now it's so seeped in my bones, I don't think I can remove myself from the idea of personal development. It's so much a part of me.
I love that you said be a better human on the planet, because we do something each year called like a stake. It's kind of like an intention, for our team. And our stake for the year is growing leaders for the sake of humanity. So yeah, we have to put our own oxygen man on first, right, Michelle?
Yeah, so important to remember that. Yeah, we really don't have the capacity to truly be with others or to help others if we don't have some inner strength ourselves. Yeah. And there's also something about, we're noticing with all the turbulence of the last few years in the world, that there's just this thirst and this need in people to have some sense of grounding. And it comes from within. As much as we'd like to say, I want to fix my coworker, I want to fix my company, I want to fix the world, we have to find that grounding within in order to have the strength and the decision-making ability and really the sanity to know the right decision to make next for ourselves.
Yeah. Michelle, I love what you're saying. And I know when I co-lead and get to play with you, that when you're grounded, you have this impact on the people around you that you calm everybody else down too. So I'm naming that both because I love that about you, but it also speaks to, wow, when we do our own inner stuff, it flows, it has impact everywhere we go.
Yeah. Thank you, Margaret.
Yeah. So my backstory, it's David, what you were saying really resonates, this idea of like I had a whole lifetime. And as I look back now, I kind of understand. I used to say about myself, and I, grew up primarily in Boulder, Colorado, but I proudly would tell people I'm from Boulder, but I don't even have one woo, much less woo-woo. It was like a point of pride for me that, none of that stupid stuff. And when I look back, I think it was, I'm a pretty sensitive person, as I think all of us on this team are. Another word for that is sort of empathic or porous, that I found myself in situations for my whole life where just energetically I was thrown off by what was going on around me. Like I would pick up other people's things, like, just like COVID, but for anxiety or something different, I guess. Anyway, I didn't know how to manage that. And so I tried so hard, just to not be in that world, to not believe in anything that I couldn't see or fix or touch. And I'm going to say my waking up to this came, as I think it does for many people, through a period of wild disruption. For me, it was a parenting journey that just brought me to my knees, as one of my kids was in high school, and I looked in that traditional toolbox, and there was nothing there to work with to make change or interact or try something different with my son. And so I found myself asking for help, surrendering to the brick wall that I had hit, and asking for help. And it came in the form of working with a therapist who had a lot of Eastern philosophy and a lot of yogic beliefs, and she kind of helped me start down that path. Like Michelle, it's come and gone. It's been in sort of fits and starts, but I also had a bit of an awakening around coaching, which is, having worked in the nonprofit world and coming to the point where I knew that was finished for me, but I had no idea what to do next or where I might go next. And somebody suggested that I work with a coach. And no kidding, 10 minutes into my first session, I was like, wait. What you're doing is a profession and I could get paid to do that. That's what I want to do. And within probably a month, I think I was enrolled. And I do think coaching invites us, I'm not going to say forces us, because I don't think that's true. It invites us to continue to learn and grow with our clients, for the sake of our clients, for the sake of humanity, to notice things. And I've had so much fun now with my own personal growth and the ways that, whatever journey I'm on seems to, like there's resonance out there somewhere for someone, and I love that. I love writing about it and noticing it. And, I'm on this quest to understand humans a little bit better.
Well, your description of earlier being one woo, not two woo woos, it really resonated with me, Margaret, because there's a lot of clients I work with, and this is like part of me too, that there's part of me that has rejected the idea in the past of personal development because it feels too woo woo, because it feels too like, oh God, let's get real, right?
Right.
And yet there is for lack of a better term, personal development is the term, but there's so many flavors of what it looks like. There's so many different ways to develop yourself that doesn't feel woo-woo when you're doing it for yourself, because you find your own language, you find your own way. And that's part of what we're coaching people, to meet them where they are. It's not like, we have these methods that have helped us get to where we are today, and we're going to jam that down the throat of our clients at all. It's the exploration of what actually works for our clients. What's the language? What's the methods? What helps them to feel that inner strength and that, wherewithal to keep going.
Right. We're not trying to teach them to be an archetype of somebody woke, right? It's all about how you do your own journey in this world. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting for me, the seeds started when I was working at a consulting firm. So exactly that, like it started in a very professional setting. And so I worked about 10 years at a consulting firm in Toronto. And it's interesting that I literally was on a call last night just by coincidence with two people, Shannon and Catherine, who were instrumental in this journey. So feels cool that David brought this question up this morning. Because we were reflecting.
Wait a minute. There's a little woo-woo, Janice. That's a little woo-woo.
Exactly.
That might even be 3 woos, just saying.
Yeah.
I'm okay with woo-woo though. I think I always was like, I always had some woos. So, but yeah, we had I don't even know, to be honest, if this woman was a coach, an organizational development consultant. I honestly don't know what title she would have put on herself. But we had a woman who would come for a few years. She came annually to our big, all staff retreat. And she also worked more one-on-one with the senior leaders on our team. But my experience of her was at these all staffs. And I felt like, the little kid where you want to sit in the front row and you're just like clapping your hands like, oh my God, like, what are we going to do this time? So, so we were doing emotional intelligence work, and, she was using assessments to help us learn about different communication styles. And there was, I can't remember if there was like 5 or 6 of us who worked in the office, because a lot of people worked out in the field at the company, who decided to start our own group. Like an accountability kind of group coaching. I mean, I don't know. We called ourselves at the time the Go All Girls, which was a play on the word goal and the fact that we were all young women at the time. And we did that for a couple of years, actually. And it was, some people had professional goals, some people had personal goals. I mean, I'll just share for myself. Like, I was actually really wanting to get into dating and find a relationship, because I had processed coming out of a divorce at a very young age, and, I had met my ex at 16, so it was a very emotionally overwhelming thought of sort of putting myself out there in that way. Happily married now. So those ladies, they really supported me through that goal, so we had all, goals that ran the gamut. And what was interesting was a few people would say to me, like, oh, you're the one who always asks good questions, really holds us accountable, and like sort of has this rigor, in our group, which was obviously like sort of, none of us had any training or skills in terms of coaching. So I can see the seeds for my current role in that. But it took years, right? I mean, I actually got laid off from that job. I got my own career coach and sort of mentioned that I was interested in coaching. And she's like, let's talk about that. And I was like, no. I'm a single woman. I got to get a job. We can't talk about that, So it definitely took years. But looking back, I really think that those people were the first people to acknowledge, that there was something to this for me.
Yeah, and as you're talking, Janice, there's some terminology that you're using, the emotional intelligence and communication styles. And, there is jargon in this coaching and personal development world. And I want to call it out. It's important jargon that to know about, to know that it's part of the resources to explore personal development. And I want to define some of these things, because I had 20 plus, maybe 30 years with, like, I wasn't in any of this language. And when I became interested in it, it was like, wait, there's all these words. I don't even know what people are talking about. It's like a whole foreign language. So, we talk about emotional intelligence, and we work with emotional intelligence with our clients all the time. That means it's the practice of being aware of your emotions and what's going on in you, to understand that we actually have a range of emotions that is possible. And if we don't allow ourselves to be sad or angry, we are also not allowing ourselves to be joyful and ecstatic. There's a range of emotions that, with practice,
Not allowing ourselves to be human,
Michelle. Human, right? Exactly. So there's this range of emotions that are possible as humans, and oftentimes we're living in a narrow range of emotions because we're afraid of an extreme emotion on one end or the other. So that's what we mean by emotional intelligence.
Well, and also, Michelle, just to build on that, I mean, a big part of being a leader is also being aware. Everyone's emotions have impact on other people, but when you lead a team, that is heightened. Your emotional state needs to be processed, but also needs to be carefully self-managed so that you have the impact that you want to have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Or in the absence, because some emotions, at least for those of us who are very sensitive, like on the sensitivity scale, that Margaret and I have taken. We've all taken it, but we're high on that scale. It can be, see, this is where the awareness comes in. Like Margaret and I have this awareness that we're very sensitive. And sometimes, at least I'll speak for myself, I can be overwhelmed by my own emotions or overwhelmed by others. And it's in those times where I may have to step away from a situation to regroup, or I may need to reveal that I am, and this is like a practice, like, Brene Brown's work, for those of you in the audience who was an academic and is like the queen of vulnerability, like reveal what's going on, like you hijacked by some emotion. And and that's a skill, like that is a leadership skill, a tool, not a manual. Like, this is how you do it when you are feeling overwhelmed by emotions. You take step 1A, sub letter triple I, and do this.
Yeah.
No.
Right. So much of this journey, though, really starts with the pause, right? We start by pausing and looking in, right? You can self-awareness or reflection, or you can, put your hand on your belly. Have people do that all the time. What's going on for you? What's going on for me is a great question.
Yeah, it's interesting, Margaret. Like, so often when I first start working with clients, they're so like, I got to change. And sometimes I'm like, no, we're just in the noticing phase. Like, there's nothing to do right now. It's just like there's a pause of like, just notice your patterns, name your patterns to yourself. And, I'm like, and there will be a time for action, but there is sometimes an intentional period of simply noticing, And, and then Michelle, I love where you're pointing us, like, because we were actually, Shannon and Catherine and I were reminiscing about a fun communication tool that we learned when we were at the consulting firm, and literally how it changed, a relationship with one of our VPs. But of course, we all use DISC. So maybe you can give people a high level sense of how DISC supports people's communication styles.
Yeah, DISC is a behavioral assessment. So it assesses this moment in time in our life of what our behavioral styles are and what those impacts might be on other people that we're currently interacting with. And it's an assessment that we use often when we work with individuals as well as teams and boards to help people understand the impact that they're having that may be unintentional or they may be unaware of it. And ways to adapt to other people's communication style in order to work better together. And it's all about finding that way that's authentic for us as individuals, not that we have to adapt in a way that doesn't feel comfortable or I shouldn't say comfortable. It's uncomfortable to practice something that we're not in the pattern of using. So that's where we as coaches come in for support, to support someone in the challenge of not being comfortable and trying new ways of behaving in service of better relationships, better communication, better teamwork, and that kind of thing. And it's a really interesting assessment. It's both very deep and dynamic, and it's also simple enough to conceptualize on a basic level. So it's got a lot of levels to it, and we love using it with teams.
One of my favorite parts of DISC or all these different assessments, but it's a great reminder for us not to project how we do things and how we communicate onto other people and making them, it keeps us from making them wrong for doing things differently, and I actually remember when I first took DISC and did my debrief with Michelle, and you were explaining, wow, there's one of these styles where like you just can't expect an answer right away. And I was like, wait, what? Like, sorry, I thought you had to answer right away, and there's this whole thing about speeds of communicating. And but again, as a tool, it helps us understand ourselves and how we fit in to other people and themselves, right? And how.
And
Yeah,
there's no right or wrong assessment results in this
Right.
DISC assessment at all. It's just an indication of what has been working for us in communication styles in our life up till now. And it may not be something that works in every situation going forward. So being aware of that pattern that has set itself up in our life. And sometimes that pattern's been going on so long, and then a situation or a relationship in our life changes, and suddenly it's like we're up against a brick wall and this pattern isn't working anymore. And that's when we're very frustrated and there are communication breakdowns. We don't know what's going on. So this is a way
Right
of
about now,
look at it.
so right about now, there are folks in the audience who are asking themselves, what the hell is this DISC thing, and why are they going on and on about it? It's just, yeah, right. That's like, it's just starting to get into woo-woo land. And the answer is, we see on teams and between individuals that breakdowns happen in communication. And I think everyone notices this, like breakdowns happen. And when members of teams or boards don't communicate well, there's an absence of trust. And what we know from the research, and a lot of this work comes from Pat Lencioni and his 5 dysfunctions of a team, which if you're in a management or leadership role, you've probably encountered that book. And if not, go get it and read it. And don't believe us, like believe the guy who's considered the guru of this and consults with all the large nonprofit and corporations around the world. Like, trust is the foundation of a high functioning team. And the way you get trust is by understanding each other's communications styles and being able to communicate effectively. And so that's why we're talking about this. And that's why we integrate it into our trust, candor, and conflict training that we do with teams and boards. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing, David, is, we know because we experience it, like sometimes when we're talking to people, I think we probably all had this experience and we're sort of explaining how we work together. People are often surprised because it's like, oh, like, what's your agreement? Like, did you have a lawyer to set up this agreement? And like, how do you profit share? And we're just like, no, it's none of that. Like, it's just like we come together, we have a stake around what we're doing, we trust each other, we decide in the moment like who's doing what and how that's going to happen. And it's such a unique thing. I mean, we don't often pause. Sometimes we do, but we don't often pause and sort of acknowledge like how these tools have helped us. This personal development work has actually helped us. I mean, that to me is like one of the biggest reasons that we have so much passion, is because we get to live it and see the impact that it can have. And we have breakdowns, and we have to get these tools out ourselves and use them, so it's not always a smooth ride, as nothing fun in life is a smooth ride. Nobody wants to go on a roller coaster, that doesn't have an up and down.
Well, I love that, Janice. We do practice everything. We have a share that we preach or that we teach with clients, including we have a shared training in the coactive coaching model, where Michelle now is a faculty member at CTI, where she is training others in coaching. And we have our little mini coach training program for leaders, not for people who want to become coaches, but for leaders to incorporate these coaching skills into their management style. So everything we do is very intentional, and we've been through it, and we use it with ourselves all the time.
Yeah. So I want to just circle back a little bit. I think each of us has really noticed, and we do a lot of noticing because that's what coaches do, but we notice, and we put together and we look for themes and repetition. And it seems like in the space is a departure from access to humans, being able to be a human, people operating in humane ways. And I think each of us has had some experiences in the past few months and listened to friends and clients. And so I'm just going to circle back to our stake for this year around, we want to grow leaders for the sake of humanity. We have a stake for humans and humanity. And we believe that personal growth is an integral part of that.
And we look at the term leaders as we are all leaders in the world, despite our job title or something like that, because there are times when, as David was pointing out earlier, and Margaret, like we need to pause and we need to check in with ourselves. What do I need right now? Because there's some emotion showing up in me right now that's pretty extreme or not working for me. And that's really accessing an inner leader so that you can have self-authority over your own life and your own decisions. And so, it all starts with ourselves, and then the leading comes in our impact with others, and we want what we want that impact to be. And in the end, we at Fundraising Leadership just want to make it a better world. We want people to be working better together and communicating better and living whole lives.
Yeah. So we
usually... always like to give people something to try. So what do we want to...
Oh, before we go there, I want to say something more about this humanity thing, because it sounds a bit trite. It could sound a bit trite. So just to put an exclamation point on it, we work with leaders and teams in the nonprofit world, and you can't AI your way through what nonprofit organizations do. They feed the hungry, and we've worked with an organization that feeds the hungry. They shelter the homeless, and we've worked with leaders who shelter the homeless. They educate the next generation of folks who are going to lead us into the future. And while you can learn some things online, you can't learn everything online. They take care of the sick and the ill and the frail in hospitals and other healthcare organizations where a computer, at least today, cannot do that. And so it takes human beings to, at least in the nonprofit world, to help other human beings. And that's what we love doing, is help supporting all of you who are doing that work. So I just needed to emphasize this, like why we think this is so important. And in the age of artificial intelligence and everyone technology and everyone getting so excited about that, that's all well and good. And yes, and we're still human beings. So sorry, Janice, I had to get on my platform on that.
That's okay.
Important to point out, because it's the bigger mission, it's the bigger idea of why we are doing this work with specifically nonprofit leaders. Yeah.
So what's something we want to challenge our listeners to do or think about here?
There's something coming up for me around, I think there's a way in which leaders often think about their professional development. They have a budget for that. They might be thinking at this time of the year, like, oh, do I want to go to a conference? Do I want to take a course? Which are great things. But I think my challenge is actually think about how you could deploy that money differently this year. How can you do something to access what Michelle's talking about, that leader within, like really getting clear on who you are and what you're up to in the world?
Love that, Janice.
Yeah.
And if you'd like some help with that, we're here. Don't be shy.
Yeah. Happy to have a conversation, see what's right for you.
Yeah, we'll put our contact link in the show notes. And I think I speak for all of us. We would love to hear from you, including help.
I don't know what to do.
Right. I'm stuck. Great. All right. This podcast is brought to you by Fundraising Leadership. We provide unique coaching and training programs to grow nonprofit leaders. Please subscribe if you haven't already. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're enjoying the show, you can help us continue to bring thoughtful content with a one-time contribution. This supports our production costs and keeps the show ad-free. Contribute today using the link in the show notes, and you will receive one or more of our highly acclaimed courses. Now go put it into practice.